Hey, I'm back. I'm Kasey King, the wedding officiant in Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm with one of my past brides, Marguerite, and her husband Ryan is in the living room with their little baby, Aiden. And I was just sitting here. We were talking about maybe some advice that we could give future brides about their wedding day. So, Marguerite, I'll let you take over from here.
Okay, so I would say first and foremost, as I was saying just before, do not sweat any changes day of that you notice. As I said, like flower arrangements, the color of your napkins, anything that you planned. While I know that you took the time to plan it and the effort to plan it, the people who are there, number one, probably don't know what your flower arrangements were supposed to look like. And for the most part, they don't care. I know that I've been to a million weddings, and honestly, like I couldn't tell you for my best friend's wedding what her centerpieces were. Yeah. You know, and it's not those things that you remember. I remember if I had fun. I remember if the food was good. You know, if I was dancing, if I wasn't dancing, anything else. You know, picture wise, like obviously you want everything to look great, but again, the pictures are going to show, you know, your happiness. It's going to show, you know, like people around you celebrating you, loving you, and you know, entering this new phase with like your significant other. So I would just like go with the flow. You want that day to be something that you remember. You don't want to look back and be like, oh man, I was so stressed because the centerpieces didn't look good, or I was so stressed because my DJ didn't play the music at exactly the time that I needed it to. It's all going to come together, and you're just going to remember the fact that you had so much fun with the people who chose to celebrate that day with you.
Yeah. Do you have any advice on how to stay relaxed?
If you drink, I would take a couple, you know, adult beverages. Yeah. We got married. What time did we get married? About 4:30.
Yeah.
So. My now husband, I know, was at a bar a few hours before with his buddies.
He sure was.
And I certainly had some drinks in our hotel room as we got ready. And I think reflecting on, you know, going back to any tips for the day, reflecting on what is actually important that day is also going to help. Because if you just think about like, hey, you know, my husband and I were dating for 11 years before we got married, and I just thought that day like, wow, like, you know, 11 years ago I never imagined this day, but here we are, and I'm marrying this guy, and like that was what was important in that moment. And I think if you focus on that, it'll definitely calm your nerves.
Yeah. So the wedding day, it's a full day.
Oh, yeah.
What do you remember about your wedding day? What are some key moments that you remember?
I remember that no bride, no matter how many times people tell you that rain is good luck, I remember when thinking about my wedding day that I never wanted it to rain. But I also remember now that it didn't matter if it poured. I think it was only sprinkling when we ended. But as soon as we went under that balcony area, it definitely like started coming down. But what was your question?
What moments of your wedding day stick out the most? Or what do you remember?
I remember as it started coming down, I didn't care. In that moment, I didn't care if it was raining, sunny, like whatever. I was like marrying the guy who I wanted to marry. I remember laughing during the ceremony because Kasey is awesome. Please, if you have any question, pick Kasey. And he didn't tell me to say that.
Here's the money.
Thank you. Our DJ was great. Kasey, I know you work with Earl a whole bunch. He was great. I think what's important, as I said, is you just make sure that you have a good time. And I think, you know, thinking back on it, I just remember that it was just about like being with people who cared about Ryan and I at the end of the day. So, I mean, if I could give you any piece of advice, it would be just to go with the flow.
Yeah. Golly, I tell couples to do that all the time. Just go with the flow, and I try to tell them the same thing you just said. For whatever reason, it's just I guess the moment gets to them, and it's tough sometimes. But
well, I think for girls, it's like you spend like your whole life planning this day. I mean, that's what I did, right? Like you have like so many different variations, and you want it to be perfect, but the day of, you realize what is actually perfect. And I can guarantee you probably 95% of the people out there, their idea of perfect is different the day of than what they thought leading up. And even after, like, our day was perfect. It rained. We had issues with the beer that was served. But it's like, at the end of the day, everyone had fun. We're married. We have a little baby now. So really, that was, 8 hours of your life, which is just a speck in, this next chapter. So.
Well, cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you very
welcome.
much.